Everyone is discussing why Tesla doesn't launch Cybercab. Are we delayed? When is this happening? Panic there, panic here. I am not in that camp, and I'm telling you guys, we are more than on track. And the question whether we launch Cybercab tomorrow or in August or in September is completely unimportant, because what actually counts is that Tesla gets to this critical point where Cybercab is actually fully autonomous. And of course, a lot of people think, well, Waymo is autonomous and Tesla is already autonomous. I have FSD, I'm driving around, it drives me around. Why is it not autonomous? No, complete autonomy means that this cab can drive itself without human intervention. It means if you have 1,000 Cybercabs on the road, there is no human intervention anymore. There is no remote operator anymore. Nothing is needed. That is the precondition to actually launch this at scale. And that is exactly what Tesla is trying to get to. They are trying to get to the point where this thing is truly autonomous. And true autonomy doesn't mean Waymo. It doesn't mean tons of people in the back office in the Philippines, wherever, watching every car, 3 people watching 1 car forever. It means there are no customers trapped inside the car. Safety is not enough. You can't have that stuff happening. It means that these things are truly fully autonomous. Okay. And that is exactly what we are looking. That is exactly what we are looking at. Here's Sawyer Merritt also talking about the Cybercab and Tesla on the Cybercab in new report. We plan to deploy Cybercab as the primary vehicle in our Robotaxi fleet. It eliminates the need for a steering wheel, pedals, and traditional controls, freeing up cabin space and ultimately reducing weight and operational costs. It is designed as a compact 2-seater because more than 85% of ride-hailing trips carry only 2 passengers or less. Everyone knows that. It also leverages our unboxed manufacturing process that builds the vehicle in parallel instead of using traditional sequential manufacturing lines, leading to a more efficient use of the factory space. Furthermore, Cybercab is manufactured from lightweight reactive injection molded panels that eliminate the need for a traditional paint shop. Cybercab also includes a new drive unit that eliminates reliance on critical minerals that can be costly and difficult to procure from China, of course. These innovations deliver a step change reduction in vehicle bill of material and manufacturing costs while aiming to meet and in some cases exceed the global safety standards. So we have to understand what's happening here. Tesla is actually focusing on exactly that. These innovations deliver a step change reduction in vehicle bill of material manufacturing costs. Why is this so important? Why is Tesla the first company that goes out of its way to reinvent the entire manufacturing process so it becomes cheaper to manufacture? Why? You have probably heard about the unboxed process. You have heard that everything changes. It's not conventional conveyor belts. They can basically build the components of each Cybercab in parallel and then plug them together, box them, unbox them together, whatever. And that leads to massive production efficiencies. And there's also here, for example, a report, Masconomy shared that. Tesla cut Cybercab paint cycles from hours to minutes with a new molding process. The company says the change cuts manufacturing and supply chain emissions for those parts by 35%. It eliminates 100% of the volatile organic compounds. The process here, this is the important thing. It cuts Cybercab paint cycles from hours to minutes. Okay, it's nice that we don't have volatile organic compounds. I hate this stuff, by the way. VOCs are horrible for your mind, for your brain. They're the worst thing. I'm very allergic to them. But the important thing is here we are cutting also this very important piece of the manufacturing process, the paint shop, from hours to minutes. So I want to steer your attention to this fact. We are dramatically reducing the time it takes to manufacture these things. We are also systematically reimagining the entire manufacturing process to bring down the cost. And we are also reducing the dependency on rare earth materials and stuff like that to make sure we can produce them. What does it all tell you? What is the common thread here between all these things? The common thread is that Tesla believes, not just believes, invest a lot of money to make sure Cybercab can be the most manufactured vehicle in the history of humanity, and that it can be so now. Tesla is absolutely focusing on making this thing the most efficiently produced, the most efficiently and cost efficiently and time efficiently produced car that was ever produced. And why is that so important? Because Tesla understands that the demand for this car will be infinite. And I will explain to you very quickly why that is the case. Because here you see the Tesla base EBIT earnings, currently projected for $4.5 billion in 2026. We have to understand that 100,000 robotaxis added to Tesla, deployed in the field, make you $5 billion in additional profit. 100,000 robotaxis make you $5 billion, which is 100% more than the entire Tesla company right now. We have to understand, if you deploy 1 million robotaxis that actually work, go to work, drive to work, you make $50 billion, which is over 10 times the amount of earnings of Tesla today. And that is independent of other Tesla verticals, independent of Optimus, independent of the current business. And now the question is, why would you need 100,000 robotaxis? Why would you need 1 million robotaxis? And how many robotaxis can you actually deploy? And I will explain this to you now. If you have a robotaxi driving around and that robotaxi doesn't need a driver, it brings down massive costs. And that means you can pass on cost savings to riders. And that means you can lower the cost per ride by 50% or more per mile compared to Uber. Okay? Hey, on this channel, we do something very important. We deeply analyze, understand, and predict capital, AGI, and politics. Not just to beat the markets and make a lot of money, even though that's important, but also to build a new society and make the future good for all of us, the pioneers. If you want to help me on this journey, you can do that by doing a very simple thing: like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. Thank you so much for your support, and let's get back to the video. And that means you can expand and eat up Uber's lunch. You can take over the rideshare market. And if you want to know what that means in cars, look at this. Uber does not publicly disclose the exact number of cars that are Ubers, but rather counts its active drivers. Globally, there are approximately 5.4 million to 10 million active drivers and couriers. In the United States specifically, they estimated 1.5 million Uber drivers and 44 million riders. That means roughly 1.5 million cars. Okay, maybe it's 1 million cars. You have 1 million Uber cars. That's not counting Lyft and others. So let's say 1.5 to 2 million are currently deployed cars in the ride-sharing market. But you also have to understand that if you cut the price of ride-sharing by 50%, which Tesla now can do without actually making less money, they're making more money. They cut it in half and still make more money than Uber, because the driver is the main cost driver, no pun intended. If that happens, you will expand the ride-sharing market dramatically. Okay, not double it, you will probably quadruple or more the ride-sharing market, because that is Jevons paradox. If you bring down the price, you make more money because much more people utilize your service or product. And that's exactly what's happening. And that is why, considering that you have all these cars, that I think the following will happen. It will be manufacturing constrained. And I think this year, 2027, 28, 29, 2030, this is all, of course, conditional. Here's my table. This is all conditional on the fact that I believe that Cybercab will become operational this year. Okay, probably this quarter, by the way. I think it could happen in July, maybe in August, maybe in September, but it definitely, in my opinion, will happen. There are many signs for that, because Cybercab is getting scaled and cannot make money if it's not being deployed. And the fact that it's scaling is a direct hint that Tesla sees the light at the end of the tunnel on a short time period and believes they can actually make this thing work very soon. And once they can make this work and it's fully autonomous, they can ramp. And that's why they are so focused on making this very efficient, the manufacturing process, because they will need to manufacture a lot of them fast. So this is relatively conservative, this table. It assumes we produce 100,000 robotaxis next year, 200,000 the year after, 400,000, 800,000. So we are doubling manufacturing every year. I think they can do better, but let's see. But that means also, because these are not sales, okay, these are fleets. So the first 100,000 produced stay in the fleet. And that means your fleet, the thing that actually makes money, grows faster than 100%. It grows from 100 to 300 to 700 to 1.5 million robotaxis by 2030. And when you look at what that does to Tesla earnings, it's very simple. Tesla earnings add 100% earnings next year. Then they add 300% compared to this year in 2028. They add 700% compared to this year in 2029. And they're adding 1,500% earnings by 2030 compared to this year, 75 billion. And I think this is conservative because everything hinges just on the question, does FSD work? Do we achieve full autonomy and can we deploy these cars? If the answer is yes, and I've said this again and again on this channel, I've said it again and again in other interviews on Herbert's channel and so on and so forth, it is in a singular way only a question of does FSD work? And that means, can Cybercab be deployed in commercial operations with no humans, with no control necessary, in a truly autonomous way? And at the millisecond that happens, the demand for these things will be infinite up to some point that is probably in the tens of millions of cars deployed. Because when you bring down the cost of transportation, when you cut it in half or more to $1 or whatever per mile, everyone will start using these things and the demand will be massive. And with massive demand, you have massive network effects, you have massive cybercab fleets, you have super minimal wait times. Everything then becomes an economies of scale game. And that is why these need to be manufactured. And that is exactly why people are so bullish on Tesla stock despite it being sad right now. And all of this will start happening at a massive scale, at massive growth rates, at the millisecond where it starts to work. And that is the big bet that you and me and everyone in Pioneer Lands and everyone who likes Pioneer Alpha has to take. When is that point in time? Is it in July? Is it now? Is it in August? Is it in September? Or is it in 2027? Do we have to wait another year? I do believe it's this year. And I do believe when it happens, all these obstacles people are talking about, regulations, forget it. That's not an obstacle. Manufacturing, well, here you have it. It's not an obstacle. Demand, forget it. That is not an obstacle. I think there is no obstacle. It just has to work. And I do think it will work this year. And then the floodgates open. That is my quick case, just reinvigorated through this impact report here, where people talk about all the innovations of Robotaxi. I hope that was interesting, and see you tomorrow.